really want to freaking read it. Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing my February TBR. Alright, so before we get to anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what is a book that you're reading with some romance in it for Valentine's Day. Okay, so weird that it's already February. Time. What is she? Only the second month of the year, and I'm already being overly ambitious with my TBR, but is that a surprise to anybody? No, I don't think so. So let's go ahead and just jump right in, starting out with my book clubs. At the top for my personal book club, the Geek Squad, which is hosted over on my Patreon. If you're interested, I'll put a link to that in the description down below. We are going to be reading A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. I decided on this one, seeing as how it is a dark academia book, and obviously academia, nerds, you see the connection. I've been really excited for this one, seeing as how I loved A Far Wilder Magic by this author and have been wanting to check out more of her work. This one specifically is following these two women who, I think one of them is like a folklorist, because that was a key word for me. They're academic rivals who are on this I almost said field trip expedition when unfortunately something terrible happens to their professor, and the two women are forced to rely on one another to try and figure out what happened. And then I believe there's also a sapphic romance going on here. So I'm very excited to finally dive into this one. Obviously I got this from Aardvark, so this will also help me finally start reading more into my Aardvark books. I also just gotta say, I love this lavender color of the hardback. We need more purple books. So that's first book club down. Next, for my fantasy book club that I partake in person, I am hoping to read A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. Our prompt this month was just something that is on your TBR, and this was easy enough to go with. It's also on my 10 books for 2025, and it's from an author that I've previously loved. So really been wanting an excuse to get to this one, and I'm just kind of working it in here where I can. It's also one of the last 2 books I need to complete my 2024 Reddit fantasy bingo board. This book is doing a lot. So in this one, we're following a man who has left his village and ended up becoming a well-renowned bard, but now he is back, and unfortunately young women in his village keep disappearing. Somehow his abilities are required in order to help find these girls, and he is asked by the future leader of the clan, who is also his childhood frenemy, to figure out what's going on and bring these young girls home. I have heard a lot of positive things about this one, and I do know it's a little bit slower, but it's Rebecca Ross's beautiful writing. Jan recently read it and really enjoyed it, so that's another positive review that has me really excited. I love the Letters of Enchantment series by this author, like pretty much everybody else on booktube, so I've really been wanting to check out more of her stuff. Finally gonna do that. Final book club is my romantic based one, and this month our prompt is Make Mine a Duke. So we're supposed to read some romance book that has a duke in the story, and I am going to be going with The Bachelor Duke by Cecilia Renee. That's because I really want to continue on with this series, Forever Her Bachelor, which I read as a part of my historical romances reading vlog last year. I'll put a link to that in the cards, but I unexpectedly really loved the 3rd book in this series, so I've been wanting to read more from her. In this one, we're following our Duke, who has sort of sworn himself to singledom because apparently his father was a terrible man when it came to women, and he does not want to become the same way. However, he ends up helping out Olivia, who is coming into society, and unfortunately one major flaw is causing some issues with that, and it looks like our Duke ends up helping her. Honestly, I don't want to know too much about this one going in. I'm just hopeful for some really well created characters and a really swoony romance. From speaking with the author, I do know it's not quite as angsty or spicy as the 3rd book in the series, but I'm still hopeful that I will really enjoy this one. Plus, the background here is a bed, meaning it'll work for Jan's Coffin Covers challenge for her Patreon. 1 book, 2 stones. Speaking of Jan, I am planning to partake in her readathon this month, Jante's Inferno, which is obviously a play on Dante's Inferno. So we've got 9 prompts and we have to work our way out of hell, starting at the bottom with 9 as well as 8. A book that I'm reading in a format that I do not own, as well as has a dark cover, is going to be Feed Them Silence by Lee Mandello. This is the next horror novella on my list to work through this year, and it looks like we are following a doctor who specializes in wolves, and she's working on some sort of neurological link that will allow her to see through the eyes of a wolf and kind of experience their life. However, unfortunately, this is starting to negatively impact her everyday life as she becomes more and more obsessed with it. It sounds really interesting, and I have heard some positive reviews about this one. I've also just heard a lot of positive things about this author in general. It sounds like weird horror that also is a little sci-fi-y, and that definitely sounds up my alley, so I'm really intrigued to try it out, as well as see if I enjoy this author's work and can add more of their stuff to my TBR. For Circle 7, to read a book with violence, I think I'm going to go with whatever next volume in Soul Eater I have. This is by 𝗖ecie his𝘁𝘁𝗰𝘁, a manga series that I've been really enjoying, and I am so close so close to finishing. Currently I'm at volume 22, but I'm hoping I might possibly get one of these read this week. So maybe I'll be at 23 or 24. One way or another, I'm hoping to slide one of these in here, especially because we're at the climax of the series. We're really in the final stretch. So pretty much every one of these is going to have some giant fight scene, meaning I think it'll definitely count for this. 4, 6, and 5, a popular book as well as a book that has a conflict in the synopsis which intrigues you. I'm going to hopefully try A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I feel like this book has gotten talked about a lot more as of late, most likely due to the popularity of the Letters of Enchantment series. So it did feel appropriate for the popular prompt. On top of that, the plot itself does intrigue me. So like I said, this book is really doing a lot of work this month. And if possible, for Circle 4, a book that I acquired recently, I'd really like to do The Bachelor Duke in here as well, but I'm gonna have to read this one 100% physically. We'll see how my reading is doing there, whether or not this one happens. Luckily, I do have a few other books that I've attained recently, because if you saw my last book haul, I've gotten a lot of books as of late. I have some options when it comes to this one, but currently I'm hoping to work The Bachelor Duke in here. Circle 3 is a book that has food or a beverage on the cover, and then 2 is a 5-star prediction. I'm eyeing Mary by Nat Cassidy because there's a glass of wine right here, and I've been needing to read this book in general. Another one on my 10 books for 2025, and I just really want to freaking read it. Plus, it'll also fulfill the 5-star prediction prompt on my horror bingo. Another book that's going to be doing a lot of work. I'm sure you've heard somebody talk about this if it wasn't me. This is inspired by Carrie, but instead of following a young girl who is starting menstruation, instead we are following a woman who is going into menopause. My usual spiel. I've heard a million positive things about this. It sounds very up my alley. I had barely started into it and was already really enjoying it. I just need to freaking read it. Fingers crossed this happens. And then finally, the last prompt, which you cannot double up, is one more book. If I manage to hit this point, I'll probably just slide a manga in here, honestly, make my life a little bit easier, but we'll see if I manage this far. After Jante's Inferno, I do also have my Star Wars canon project, which I'm still working on. I'm hopefully going to get these next 2 books read, starting out with Queen's Hope by E.K. Johnston. This is the first in the Padme trilogy, where we are following Padme as she is asked to become the representative for Naboo in the Galactic Empire, and follows her as she starts to traverse some more complicated political waters. I'm really intrigued about this one. I'm hopeful, really hopeful I will enjoy it. Padme is a character I do like, but unfortunately I read the second book in this series last month and I didn't love it. We'll see how this goes. Then the next one is a audio drama, I believe, and that is Dooku Jedi Lost by Kevin Scott. Really excited for this one because, I mean, I would love to learn more about Count Dooku. He seems to have a really interesting background from what I already have gathered from looking at the synopsis. It looks like we're really focusing on his character and kind of diving into, you know, how he became a Jedi and also how he eventually lost love for the Jedi and fell out with them. Like I said, I'm very intrigued, and the last audio drama that was a character study, I very much enjoyed. It was a 4.5 star. Here's hoping this one is as well. Finally, the last book I'm hoping to get read in February is my nonfiction book of the month, and I'm really hopeful I do complete this, because I'm not only trying to do one nonfiction book a month, but also I'm just very excited for this book itself. And that is Woman and Other Monsters by Jess Zimmerman. This is broken down into different frightful female characters from folklore. Yes, that was a lot of F's. I don't know why I put it that way. I'm hoping it'll dive into each of their stories and kind of explore why they were viewed as villainous, and also perhaps analyze these stories and turn them on their heads a little bit. I would really enjoy that. I'm hopeful that's what this is going to be. It sounds very much up my alley. It sounds really similar to my best book of 2024, so really hopeful I will love this. All right, and on that note, that is it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me a glass of wine emoji in the comments. I have all my socials as well as a link to my Patreon linked in the description if you're interested. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!